Hi, Mr. Rude.
How are you doing?
Good. I'm glad you were able to get on with us.
Okay, folks, we're about as ready as we're going to get. So we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. You can join me, Craig?
Yep.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America,
one nation, under God,
and indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That is weird, just the two of us doing it. Okay, everybody can hear me good?
Yep.
Okay. Welcome to another electronic virtual board meeting. We'll get through this. Smoothed out some of the bumps a little bit in the agenda. So first up, changing it around a little bit, there's an open comment period to ask. This is generally for the public to ask questions about anything. We did away with a 2-comment period that we normally do, and we're just going to dump it all into one. Now, we had some issues with, I don't want to say security, but with some improper use of that, so people had to pre-register basically to ask a question. And Craig had gotten one response, one question asked electronically by email that I'm aware of.
I have 2 now, Mr.
Okay. In a second, we'll get to them. And if there's any public members out there that want to ask a question, feel free to text one of the board members or Craig or something here tonight. And we just need to know that you're who you are, et cetera, et cetera. So first up, I'm going to let Craig just talk for a few minutes and give some basic information, some question, answer maybe some questions, and go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. First of all, I'd like to say I was shocked and saddened to hear of the unexpected loss of our county commissioner, Mr. Ed Buston. He was a passionate advocate for Bradford County residents. I know myself and many superintendents in Bradford County considered Mr. Buston a dear friend of education. He will be deeply missed by all. My condolences out to the Buston family, Teresa and her children and grandchildren. I did get one question. I have gotten 2 questions. I got one from Mrs. Buck. Mrs. Buck is asking, under the personnel number 6, is there a corresponding document that goes with it? Yes, Mrs. Buck, there is a corresponding document. The document has 4 listings on there. They are 2 retirements. One, Kay McCarty, 2, Catherine Zern. They are both retiring. We have a resignation of Amy Wolcott, and we have an athletic resignation of Fred Horn as the girls' assistant coach. That will be attached immediately after this meeting.
Craig.
Yeah. I could try to show it.
Oh, I did.
Okay, good. My second question or comment comes from Mrs. Kate Clare, 177 Dunkley Hill Road, Athens Township. I have a daughter that is currently taking biology and a son taking Algebra 1. Both kids were due to take a Keystone exam this year. I know the exams were canceled. I am wondering if either child will be required to take the canceled exam at a future date, or will it not be graduation requirement for them? If it is going to be required, how would the students remain fresh without having to retake the class or take a refresher class? I know these are very difficult times for all. I would appreciate any information you may have on this topic. Thank you, Kate Clare. Mrs. Clare, that's a question that we've submitted to PDE over the last week and a half. We know that it is in the queue to get more guidance on. So at this point in time, I don't have a definitive answer for you. I do know that all Keystone exams were canceled for this year, and we are waiting to adjust to see how to move forward for next year. I do know that as administrators, we have talked on whether it will be a graduation requirement or not, and we are unsure at this time because we do know that the graduation pathways have changed as of last year, and we'll share that graduation pathways and how they have changed in the near future. And that was those graduation pathways were changed by the Pennsylvania Department of Education. If those students do have to retake the Keystone exams or PSSA exams, we will prepare them the best we can. I do know that all students will be moving forward, and if they pass the course, they will move forward onto their next expected course on their course plan or course listing. No one will be held harmless in this situation. I do have a couple other comments, if that's okay.
Yep.
Craig, could you have Mr. Johnson mute his mic? Because I think you're
Oh, okay.
echoing through his.
I apologize. There you go. Is that better? Thank you, guys. I apologize. I didn't know that. Governor Wolf recently closed schools for the remainder of the year and has extended the stay-at-home order till May 8th of this year. At that time, he will revisit the stay-at-home order and potentially open things up. However, schools and school facilities will remain closed until the end of the local elected school board year. Currently, that is June 5th. We as a district are committed to be a model of following the guidelines for social distancing set forth by our state leaders. I know it's very difficult for all at this time. Our patience is wearing very thin, but we need to stay the course for a little while longer. I appreciate everyone in this community. You have worked very hard to make sure that this COVID-19 virus doesn't affect our schools or our community greater than it already has, and I appreciate that. I do want to let everyone know that graduation will happen on June 5th, and we are working on numerous solutions to provide that. We are developing a plan to distribute personal belongings to students beginning in the first week of May, and more information will come that in the very near future. And I will keep my report as brief as possible tonight. I finally would like to thank everyone, show my gratitude and thankfulness for all staff members, teachers, board members, administrators, and the community at large who continually go above and beyond in their support for our school district and our students. I truly work with extraordinary people in the effort of serving this outstanding community, and I want to thank them all sincerely. This is not easy for any of us, and it's amazing to see the support that all are giving. One comment I'd like to make is I even saw parents on Facebook, and I'm not a Facebook person by nature, but due to this, I have paid attention to comments and reached out to offer support and help where I can. It was really remarkable to see parents helping each other out with their students learning at this time. And thank you for being such a great community and a strong staff. Thank you. Mr. Johnson, that concludes my report.
Okay. Does any other board members have any questions or anything? Has anybody got any questions from the community? If not, we will proceed. Okay, first up is item 3, the meeting minutes from Tuesday, March 10th, Tuesday, March 24th, and Tuesday, March 31st. If there's no objection to those meeting minutes, they will stand as they are. Okay, so be it. Next up is policies, item 4. Can I have a motion and a second to bring item 4 to the table, please?
So moved.
Kathy makes some motion. Second.
Okay, you good, Christine? Just nod your head. Okay. So this is just basically a provision to suspend a policy meeting, a policy or two if we need to continue on. We would need to suspend this policy that we'd all in the same spot at the same time. Any discussion, concerns about this? we'll pretty much have to do this every time we meet like this, so. If there's no objection, then we will vote to approve. When you're ready, Christine?
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mr. Steathers,
Yes.
Mr. Westbrook,
Yes.
Mrs. Braun,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick.
yes,
Okay, thank you. Next item is the financials, item 5. Can I have a motion and a second to bring those to the table, please?
So moved. Lisa Brand.
Second, Lonnie.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or concerns about these? Craig, is there anything you want to highlight or mention? Or I guess Brendan, Mr. Hitchcock, since we have a business manager now, if there's anything that you wanted to highlight or mention about it, feel free. Okay, if there's no questions, we will vote to approve them. When you're ready, Christine?
Mr. Steathers,
Yes.
Mr. Westbrook,
Yes.
Mrs. Braun,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
yes,
and Mr. Rude.
Yes.
Okay, next up is personnel, item 6. Is there a motion and a second to bring that to the table, please?
So moved, Lonnie.
Second, Chris.
Okay, thank you. Any questions about the personnel? There's some retirements and resignations. Okay, if there's no questions, we will vote to approve. When you're ready, Christine?
Mr. Westbrook,
Yes.
Mrs. Braun,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
yes,
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
and Mr. Steathers.
Yes.
Okay, item 7, contracts and agreements. Can I have a motion and a second to bring that item to the table, please?
So moved.
Second, Lisa.
Okay, this is a contract with Pivot Physical Therapy to provide services for the 2020-2021 school year. Any questions, concerns about these? Okay, we will vote to approve. When you're ready, Christine?
Mrs. Braun,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
yes,
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mr. Steathers,
Yes.
and Mr. Westbrook.
Yes.
Okay. Next up is curriculum and instruction, item 8. Is there a motion and a second for that, please?
So moved, Lonnie.
second,
Chuck.
Kathy Joe,
Okay, thank you. This is an adjusted school calendar for the remainder of this school year. Are there any questions, concerns?
What were the changes? Because this looks like the same calendar.
Hang on, Craig's got to turn his mic on.
Sorry, Mr. Rude. Yeah, this just adjusts the year to take out several weather makeup days and shorten the Memorial Day holiday to allow students to still have their last day on June 5th. That's the only changes.
Okay.
Any other questions or concerns about the adjusted calendar? We will vote to approve. When you're ready, Christine?
Mr. Teresnowski,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mr. Stebbers,
Yes.
Mr. Westbrook,
Yes.
and Mrs. Braun.
Yes.
Okay, next up, item 9, transportation. Is there a motion and a second to bring that to the table, please?
So moved.
Second, Lisa.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
was
it was
that?
Lisa. Lisa
I'm
was
sorry,
first.
Lisa Braun.
Who is first?
Second. Second.
Jamie.
Doesn't matter. Jamie was first.
Sorry. So this is an MOU between us and our transportation providers, contractors. Saying how we're going to pay them. I know the board, we got this earlier today or yesterday to look at. Is there any questions, concerns about this?
We were talking about this at the IU meeting last week, and we seemed to, it kind of went between 80 and 100%. So I think we're where we ought to be probably.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, concerns about it? Okay, we will vote to approve. When you're ready, Christine?
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mr. Stebbers,
Yes.
Mr. Westbrook,
Yes.
Mrs. Braun,
Yes.
and Mr. Teresnowski.
Yes.
Okay, there's some board information items. There's a report from the Northern Tier Career Center. Did everybody get it? This was not 100% sure if this got pushed out or not. Lonnie, you're the Career Center rep?
No, I'm
Kathy Jo. Sorry, Kathy Jo is.
Yep, we had a meeting the other night, and I think that got pushed out in the email that was under the report. They're doing a lot of the Zoom meetings and doing a lot of the virtual classrooms, keeping their students on task and on schedule to graduate.
Okay. Okay. That's just information. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is going to be on Tuesday, May 19th. Most likely going to be another virtual one, but if it's not, we'll be down here at the admin building. Does any board member have any other questions or concerns, or comments at this point?
I had some questions. Like, there are some students that are really kind of struggling with this type of learning, and they're concerned like their grades are really plummeting. And I know the teachers are there to help as well, but are they looking at also prior to all this, as far as, you know, that's what they're concerned, like they were doing okay, now that they're kind of struggling more, and you know, they're all concerned that they're not going to pass. And I've kind of been encouraging them that things should be okay as long as they put the effort up.
Yeah, John, mute yourself real quick. Thank you, Lisa. Absolutely. We completely recognize that going into a completely new and unknown learning environment will cause some students to struggle. We are absolutely grading students, but it's going to be averaged in with their other scores
Okay.
from the other 3 marking periods. And we're also looking at, while we're trying to create some accountability and some measurement of success, we also know that failing students and not promoting them would not be good for their academic progress. So
That's kind of what I,
while they may struggle, let them know, we're going to work with them and make sure they get through it.
okay.
Craig, will there be an update on the budget? Will there be a budget presentation before next week's meeting, or is that the budget presentation next week?
Yeah, Mr. Chairnowski, it's a great question. Mr. Hitchcock and I plan on hosting an executive session with the board in the near future, I believe next Tuesday, to discuss preliminary budget requests. And then we will have a budget presentation on May 19th, and that will be the preliminary budget presentation.
Okay, thank you.
As of now, also, I mean, as far as some fall sports, some people are already hearing rumors, and I'm trying to squash things. But as of now, until we know what's going on, they were worried about maybe fall sports or fall's, school opening. And you haven't heard anything more about that, have you?
Absolutely not. Mrs. Braun, I will tell you, obviously there's millions of rumors at our level as well on whether school will start on time, whether we'll be allowed to move into fall sports. But I'm an optimist, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I do believe that hopefully by mid-August, we'll be able to resume the most normal activity that we can. And I heard the other day that there will be a new sense of normal for all of us, but getting back to doing the things that we love and have a passion for, and I'm talking about our students and us as adults as well, should return. So I'm holding out hope, and I've not heard anything about canceling anything in terms of fall sports at this point in time.
Does anybody else have any questions or concerns that you want to talk about? Craig, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
Not at this time.
Okay, then. If there's nothing else, then everybody be safe, do the best you can out there, and we will see you next month. Meeting adjourned.
Good to see everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Take care, everybody. Hmm.